Hey guys, it's Moses here. Just got back from my last cardio session of prep. Pretty happy about that. My legs were not loving it, but screw it. I told them 45 minutes, guys. Let's do this, and let's do this strong. And I got it done. So yeah, happy with that. But on the way out, I noticed myself in the mirror, and I thought, damn, my arms are looking a little smaller than usual. It's like, have I flattened out that much? And it got me thinking that it might be a good idea to do a little vlog on the mind games that we encounter while dieting. Not necessarily while dieting for prep, but just any kind of sustained dieting, which actually is kind of redundant when you think about it, because unless you're doing like a rapid fat loss protocol, all dieting is sustained kind of by definition, unless you found a way to shred 20 pounds of fat in 2 weeks, because if you do, let me know, because next prep that'll be really useful. So I actually kind of thought about it and categorized mind games into two. By the way, I've got like kind of some notes on the screen over there, so I don't ramble too much. So yeah, I categorized mind games as follows. You've got the superficial and the performance-based mind games. And the superficial ones, as you would expect, deal with, appearance, things like scale weights, issues with, subjectivity versus objectivity when it comes to, assessing a physique and things like that. And then the performance has to do with things like strength loss, in the gym, bad days versus good days, because we all have them, and things like that. So without much further ado, I'll start with the superficial ones. So sorry, what I'm going to talk about basically are the kind of the main ones that I found difficult to deal with, and that I kind of came up with ways of dealing with myself. They're like way under superficial. I'm sure there are other categories of mind games that I haven't talked about, but those are the main ones that sort of I came across and had to find strategies to deal with. Otherwise, they would have just eaten me alive. So probably the first sort of superficial mind game that you're going to deal with is being your own harshest critic. And it's never good enough. You're never good enough. Like, you come out of the gym pumped and you're thinking, oh, well, I could be bigger. This could be more defined or whatever. And when you're dieting, especially, like, you start to flatten out. Maybe you go a bit more pale. I swear to God, I've lost like a shade of color just doing this diet. You start to get rings under your eyes. You kind of start to look like crap after a while. Let's face it. Unless you're you're like really doing a slow diet, bordering on a recomp, and you can keep energy levels up very high. Just gonna crack this window a bit. Yeah, you're gonna start to look a little down. But you can't really let that get to you, because you have to start like looking at the big picture. Like, how are you dieting? What effect is it going to have? Are you low carbing? That's going to translate into energy. It's going to make you look tired. You are going to flatten out. Is it getting results? This is kind of where objectivity comes into play, because sometimes you can't assess your own results, and this is really where having a coach or having a blog or log, whatever, on bodybuilding.com helps, because people will hopefully give honest feedback. And my strategy for that, really, I was one of, I guess, the fortunate people that decided to get coaching to do his prep. So in terms of objectivity, I had that as a source, and of course you guys, my followers in the log, have given me good feedback, when I've asked for it, so that really helps. It just takes sort of the subjectivity out of the equation, because again, we are our own harshest critics at the end of the day. Now, another big sort of superficial mind game that I dealt with was scale weights, and luckily I sort of conquered that one fairly quickly. I guess about 11 weeks ago or so, I don't really remember, but basically there was a week where I was really stressing about the weight, and you know, it was just like kind of getting worse and worse, and you know, the progress wasn't happening. I was kind of stalling, if not gaining a bit of weight. And really, it only sort of clicked when Eric told me, you know, just don't pay attention to the numbers. You're not looking at a single weigh-in. You're never looking at the cross-section. You're always looking at the big picture. So what is the trend? And actually, this is something that I'm going to come back to when I talk about performance, because, you know, again, there are days when, you know, maybe you had a little bit too much sodium the night before, or you had a stressful day, or you ate a bit later, or whatever, and it's going to affect this, like, that single weigh-in. But as long as the trend is what it's supposed to be, downward, then there's nothing to worry about, and you should never ever get worked up about a single weigh-in, whether it's a new low or, you know, something sort of contrary to what you would expect. You know, I hit a new low of 172.2 the other day, and now I'm at 173.2 this morning, but my legs are leaner than ever, so, okay, like, obviously the number is, doesn't always correlate with what's happening to your body, so you shouldn't really care about it that much as long as the trend is downwards. Okay, performance. So this is actually something I noticed more towards the end of the diet, like, because I was just fortunate, really. I mean, I didn't really lose a lot of strength on this prep, but I have noticed that in recent weeks there are some days when strength, like in a certain sort of type of movement, like pressing, is high, and then some days when it's low, and vice versa. So, like, you know, Monday will be my upper power workout, and I can barely get, you know, 120 pounds, you know, off my, well, if I'm doing a shoulder press, off my shoulders, I guess. And then, you know, come Thursday when I do my upper hypertrophy, like, I'm just smashing that shit out. So, you know, again, you can't really get too worked up about these things. You know, just take each, you know, just sort of take each day as it comes. Don't worry about it too much. Look at the big picture. You know, like, is your strength maintaining in the long term? You know, it probably isn't, because you're dieting for a long time, so it's going to go down a little bit. But, you know, just don't get too worked up about it. You know, it's just like the scale weight. And actually, that's why I really like this analogy of, you know, the cross-section versus the big picture, because if you're constantly looking at the instance, then you sort of lose sight of the long-term progress, which in a long-term situation like dieting is what you should really be looking at. And another one that's, I don't know, well, okay, fine, I categorize this under performance, but maybe it's superficial as well. Being embarrassed about what others lift versus what you lift. Now, this is something that is likely to just get worse and worse as, you know, as you diet for a longer period, because, you know, everyone is insecure about one exercise or another. I'm sure even the guys who are squatting 600 pounds, deadlifting 600 pounds and benching 350 or whatever, like, they still have lifts that they're insecure about, and, you know, depending on where they train, there may be someone who's even stronger than them, and that just makes it worse. But context here is very important, because, you know, you don't know what kind of routine someone else is on, what their goals are. You know, are they dieting, are they on juice? Not that you should assume that everyone who's stronger than you is automatically on juice, because that's just a fucking cop-out. But, you know, context is important. You know, you are dieting, therefore you are not in an optimal energy state. You know, you're not as strong as you could be, and you're certainly not building strength, probably. You know, unless you're really doing something right. So, yeah. What's the strategy there? Just don't worry about it. Focus on yourself. Everyone's individual, and that's just, you know, the way it is. You know, you may not lose any strength at all. Your lifts may suck versus someone else, but, you know, at the end of the day, when the diet is over, you're going to start gaining again, and maybe one day your lifts will be better than theirs. I mean, a lot of people don't really progress that quickly in the gym. Otherwise, you know, we'd have a lot of pretty ripped, awesome-looking people walking around the street, which clearly isn't the case. So, I guess that was short and sweet. I don't know how long I've been rambling for, but probably longer than I thought. I'm just going to lay down a little pro tip for dealing with all mind games, and this is really like a catch-all tip, like, can't go wrong. Get a coach. Seriously, like, no, I mean, it's kind of a joke, but at the same time it isn't. Like, if you're really serious about doing something and doing it well, you know, like if it's a contest prep or you have, you know, you really want to, you know, have that summer look or whatever, you know, you want your diet to be successful, just get a coach. You know, it's a source, it's someone who's more knowledgeable than you, first of all, and almost more importantly, it's a source of objectivity, which, like I said, is hugely important because we are our own harshest critic. And also, in terms of performance, they can look at your training and be objective about where your strength is actually going, because, you know, again, if you get too caught up on a single workout and you start getting stressed out about, you know, bad bench day or whatever, you know, the coach will probably tell you to just sit down and take a chill pill, which sometimes is really important. But no, that's not the only tip. Like, you know, again, it's all about getting this third-party feedback, I think. So, you know, get a coach, start a log, and, you know, be honest about your mind games. You know, if you don't tell anyone about them, then it's very difficult to deal with them, because, you know, your mind is just going to get trapped. You know, you'll get trapped in there, and your doubts will consume you. So, sort of air your concerns, otherwise no one can really help you with them. And those are just sort of, I guess, some of the strategies that I've come to learn over the course of this prep, and have really helped me maintain the level heading. You know, and that's, I guess, why, you know, people say, yeah, you don't seem very stressed out, and well, yeah, it's because I've had this support structure, I have these sources of objectivity, and yeah, it's just been. It's not been an easy ride, but it's been. I don't think it's been as. I think I made it as easy as possible because of those aspects. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Like I said, this is the last vlog I'm going to do before the show, which is coming up on Sunday. Feeling pretty good about it. My posing is pretty much on point. So I actually did a 30-minute session this morning, and it's amazing how fast it goes by once you get started. I'm pretty excited to get up on stage. Hunger-wise, not as bad as the 75 grams of carb days now that I'm up to 100, so I can't really complain there. Just sticking to the plan. I only have 2 more days of, I guess, what you would call low carb, and then Friday the carb up begins. I already got a couple of Pop-Tarts, and yeah, so see you guys, and I guess I'll do another vlog on the other side of the show. Thanks again for following, and speak to you soon.